Matt wants to train his dog to help him find error Pokemon cards. Think about it. He loves to hunt, has great senses, and is good at finding things. The only problem is, he can't seem to teach him how to use the damn computer. While he works on that, enjoy this week's episode.
Was that a cool intro? I don't know. I'm filming this before I filmed that, so hopefully Matt did a good job. What's going on, you guys? My name is Matt, and I like talking about Era Pokemon cards. This is week 27, and let's just get right into it. Kicking things off, we have an Articuno from Fossil Set, and this is the Mirror Holo error, or also the Incomplete Holo, or Matte Holo, whatever you want to call it. There are no sparkly stars going through that holo of that card. This is an error that is known to have gone through all of the Wizards of the Coast set, so if it's a holo from Wizards of the Coast, there is a card that could potentially have this error. I gotta say, sometimes this is hard to tell. I was in a card shop the other day, and the cards, I was looking at them at like a 45-degree angle, and from that angle, none of the Pokemon cards look like they have stars in them, so I was like, holy crap, is this a mirror holo? It was not, because I changed my angle and it was, in fact, had stars. Yeah, it's a cool card, just sometimes you have to be careful with the photos that people post on eBay, because angles can be deceiving. This one sold for $160 this week. That's a very strong sale for this Articuno from Fossil Set, and an awesome way to kick off this episode. $160. Air value increase is 837%. Next up, we have a Swinub from Astral Radiance, and this is an ink stain error. This is not on the front of the card, but actually on the back of the card. And if you had one guess, what color extra ink do you think got smeared on this card? If you guessed blue, you would be correct. Very apparent, I would say, that there is just a lot of extra blue on the back of this card. Very unique, and honestly, I know these errors are kind of rare, but I'm kind of surprised at how much this card sold for. Obviously, by the non-error price, you can tell Swinub really isn't that valuable of a card, especially in the modern form. And, yeah, surprised it sold for this much, but this card sold for $49.99 this week. That is a high sale price for this. Average non-error price, as I said, is $1.17, and so that makes the error value increase 4,173%. And that's good enough for number 6 this week on our list of error value increases. If you have been a fan of the show for more than a couple weeks, you know I like to show the PSA 10 Nintedo errors. This is the Ancient Mew card, and Nintedo error is where the third N is missing on the bottom of the card. Look above me there, you can see on the bottom that it is indeed misspelled. Yeah, I like showing the PSA 10s because it's kind of fun to track the pricing of them. They can range from anywhere between $900 and $1,400, and so just seeing the price where it lands during the week is kind of fun. And this one sold for $1,032. You can see average non-error price from price charting is around $1,200 for PSA 10, but sometimes it seems like price charting is a little bit behind the trends, and I've seen a lot of cards not really match up with the average price that they say is what's happening, so who really knows, but $1,000 for a Pokemon card is pretty incredible. Ooh. Next up, we have a Dark Dragonite from Team Rocket set, and this is the non-holo error. You can tell it's a non-holo error by looking in the bottom right of the card. Non-error card says 2282, so that is reserved for the non-holo, but the error card says 582, so that is actually supposed to be a holo card there. And very subtle error, but just switching up those little numbers makes this card sell for $385. Holy crap, there's not many non-holo cards that you will see sell for that much money, especially in raw form. This card's in pretty good shape actually too. It will be fun to see if this this buyer gets this graded and maybe sells it and puts it back up on eBay, and I can talk about it in a few weeks. We'll see though. Non-error price is $8.74, and that makes the error value increase 4,305%. 4305. One thing I need to ask, price charting has first edition non-holo errors on their website, but they do not have standard edition, so I'm not able to track the pricing for that, but there is definitely enough info out there to be able to add this error. So price charting, if you're watching, add that information. And this card is number 5 this week on our list of EVI. Bopping around like crazy, good lord. I was scrolling eBay the other day, as I normally do, and I came across a card that I got very excited about. I saw it was a first edition Butterfree with the D error, and it was only listed for $5 with $1 shipping. What a great deal. It turns out that the seller, they had quantity 2 out of 2, so basically there was 2 cards they could have shipped, and I asked them, hey, would you please send this exact card? And they said, you know what, there's 2 of them, let me send you the one that is the better quality. And I said, you know what, I'm going to be honest with you. This is actually an error card. It's called the D error, first edition Butterfree, and they were very, very nice enough to still sell me the card, even though I informed them that basically it's a $25 card. So shout out to this seller. I let them know about the YouTube channel. If you're watching it, really appreciate what you do. You do a great job, and appreciate your integrity. And this is a great segue into me asking you to send me your error cards. Not physically, I don't want to keep them. I want you to tell me about the error cards that you have found out in the wild. I want to share these stories. I think this is the coolest part about error card collecting, is when you can find a crazy good deal. There is no endorphin rush quite like finding an error card out in the wild. So check the link in the description to send me your error card information, and I would love to talk about it in an upcoming video. Thank you. Oh, this is a cool one. Next up we have a Blaine's Charmander with a water obstruction error. Look at the top of the card. All of that yellow should not be there, besides for the border, obviously. I believe what happens here is just something happens in the printing process where water gets spilled, and that prevents the ink from getting attached to the card. And so in this case, the red was not attached. You can see it affected about 95% of the fire symbol in the top right there, and also a good portion of the top of the card. This is a unique one, and you really don't see these pop up too often. And this one only had 3 bidders this week and sold for $53. Average non-error price is $2.24, and that makes the error value increase 2,266%. But actually, this is not in the top 10, so it shows you how strong of a week we have. I was kind of amazed when I was putting together all the graphics, just how high some of these cards sold for this week. I would say, is there a Pokemon card inflation going on? I don't know what's happening, but definitely a lot of money being thrown around this week. So no top 10, but a very cool card indeed. Okay, speaking of throwing money around, holy crap. Here we have a CGC 8 Shining Charizard, and this is a missing print layer error. And this is probably one of the cooler missing print layer errors I have ever seen. First off, again, just the amount of value added to the card is insane. We'll talk about that in a second. But it changes the whole look and feel of the card. It took away the shiny, but somehow this card is worth more even though it's not shiny. So this makes the flames look a lot brighter, and it makes Shining Charizard look like Dragontails almost. But in a cool way, if you know what I mean. I'm also wondering, why did CGC put the error label on the back? I know they've changed up their slab makeup in the last few years, but there's definitely room to put information under the Neo Destiny Unlimited than card information on the front of the card. I think they should just put it right there. That's my only critique of this card. This card was listed for $10,000 or best accepted offer price, and it freaking sold for $10,000. 5 figures for a Pokemon card, for an error card. I gotta tell you, you will never see a Charizard of any kind have an error value increase this high. Charizard sells for so much money across all of the different sets from Pokemon that when you have an error on it, it doesn't add that much percentage, but the increase could be pretty high still. So like a Black Dot Charizard could sell for $500 rather than $300. That's only like a 66% error value increase, but it adds $200 to the value, so that's pretty good. But this one, average non-error price is $1,150. This one sold for $10,000. I'm shocked by that. That's incredible. What an awesome sale, and that is a lot of money to be thrown around here. Wow. Next up, we have a PSA 9 Ho-Oh from Neo Revelation, and this is a double holo variant. Ho-Oh is very easy to tell if it's double holo or not. Look at the outside tail feathers, and those will be swallowed up by the holo if it is a double holo. This is right on par usually for where the error value increase will be. If it's a standard edition, error value increase is usually around I would say 80 to 200%. Usually doesn't range too much outside of that. So 89% fits in that rating pretty well. This card was listed for $500, but had a best accepted offer price of $434.99. Okay, here we go. Here's another edition of Sam Finds the Error. This is my friend Sam. He doesn't know too much about Pokemon. He plays Pokemon Go, and I do a weekly series with him where I like to see if he can find the error, and I time him. And I think it's pretty darn entertaining. So go ahead, Sam, I want you to take it away. Also, play along with him. See if you can find the error.
Hello, Matt. Thanks again for having me. I'm excited to be here and look at some more Pokemon cards. Hopefully I can find the error faster than your viewers can. I'm very talented. The only thing I was told ahead of time, before I even look at this, is that it's in Italian, and that's not the error. I would argue otherwise, but here we go. Okay. Gosh. Okay, so it's a Seadra. It's got this here. What am I looking at? Oh, it's fast. Right here. It's the water. The water symbol's off. Energy. The water symbol should be to the left. That's all, folks.
I am guessing. I'm filming this before Sam does that segment. I'm guessing he found the error in 35 seconds. Was I close? I don't know. You'll see. I won't. I will see after. This is a very unique error that I was not aware of. So this is a Seadra from Fossil Set, but this is the Italian version. And you can see the water symbol is shifted over probably about 3/4 of a centimeter. Is that right? 1/4 of an inch. I don't know what that would scale to. Let's say 1/4 of an inch. And this is actually a repeating error. I was only able to find one other card on eBay that had this, but it was a graded card. I think it was graded like a grade 8 or 9, was selling for around $100 some. Very unique and one that I want. So I'm going to be searching for this, and I will let you know if I find one. There's only 11 cards on eBay that are selling right now that are Italian Seadra, but I'll find one day. EVI, nothing crazy. You know, when a card sells for $8.86, you'll never get a crazy number, but this is... I see my dog. He's so cute. Awesome card, and I always love sharing new errors when I find out about them to you guys. Next up, we have a base set Poliwrath with a miscut. You can see this Poliwrath has a lot on its mind right now. It's kind of swelling a little bit, and boy, I say this every week, I love vintage miscuts. I think they're so cool, and this one sold for a lot. I think the seller did it right. They listed it for $500 or best accepted offer price. That's the key there. And they waited for the right buyer, and someone ended up paying $200 for this. You can see there is an alignment dot on the top left portion of the card, and there's a little bit of red on the top there. Could that be a Charizard? I don't know. Charizard or Ninetails, I think, are the only two options it could be. Either way, this is a national treasure. I love it. Awesome card. Error value increased 2,403%, and that's actually good enough for number 9 this week on our list of EVI. Next up, we have a Nickit from Evolving Skies, and this is a crimp and cut error. Looks like the crimping machine nicked a little bit off the top there. I'm a moron. You see, you got a little bit of a diagonal cut there with the crimp as well. If you don't know what a crimp error is, basically where they seal the pack of Pokemon cards. Sometimes that gets misaligned, and the crimping machine can leave an indentation, and if it's severely off-centered enough, it can actually cut part of the card. And if I am giving my absolute honest opinion, I think this card sold for more than it should have. Crimps, I guess, even cut and crimps usually don't sell for a crazy amount unless it's a very, very severe one. We have some that are only like 40% of the card are actually there, or they're very misaligned or skewed. Sometimes people just pay it, which is kudos to the seller here. You did a great job. You got a lot of money for this Pokemon card. Again, not saying it's not a cool card. I don't see it. There's something in my gut telling me it shouldn't have sold for this much, but very happy for you. This card sold for $49.99. Error value increase is 4,949%. That's good enough for number 3 this week on our list of error value increases. Here is a very unique card. We have a Mimikyu from Pokemon Trade or Treat, Trick or Trade booster, and this got graded a CGC 8, and this is actually a test card. And you can see the front of the card is very, very foily, but doesn't have much else on it. It's very hard to see. You can maybe make out that it's a Mimikyu. You can see the carved pumpkin Pikachu there in the right of the Pokemon card. But yeah, I don't know why they would test print this card. I guess maybe just like, you know, testing to see how it looks or seeing how the foil looks or whatever. Whatever the reason, this got graded a CGC 8 and someone sold it for $222.26. Average non-error price goes for around $15. I know this isn't like really an error. It's like a test print, so it's kind of like a not factory cut. You know, who cares? Either way, it didn't make the top 10, and so we can just kind of sit back and enjoy the fact that it got 1,382% error value increase and just say, that's pretty cool. Cool Pokemon card. Let's go on to the next one. Oh. Okay, I have to show you a video. I am going to watch the video with you. I'll put the Instagram page that I got this from on the screen, and let's take a look at this and then we'll look at the cards.
After the completion of the alpha playtests in 1996, the original Pocket Monsters team proceeded to create additional playtest cards for Pokemon that didn't have an alpha version. This is the second playtest set that comes after the alpha, known as the beta playtest set. This set contains all 151 Pokemon, from Bulbasaur all the way to Mew. Similar to the alpha set, every card in the artwork has a white background. Because these were still very early playtests, some visual errors were made, such as a letter G floating below the information space, misspellings of the illustrator's name, and even Pokemon missing from the evolution box. Every artwork is an iconic Ken Sugimori illustration, and some are rarely seen anywhere else, even today. The beta playtests would eventually become the TCG we know today, but were split into the base set, jungle, and fossil sets. These cards became the foundation of the Pokemon trading card game, and this complete 151 card beta playtest set is in the Beam collection.
Wow. Again, props to that Instagram creator. That is an awesome video. And funny enough, I found these cards and then I found that video. It's like it was fate that they wanted me to talk about it. So here I have on screen, there are 3 different sales that happened on heritage auctions. I would think of heritage auctions as like the bougie collectors, or like maybe run by boomers. I really don't know. Usually whatever you have on there is something that sells for a good amount of money. You're throwing around a little bit of change, you know, some dollars on there. But what I do know is I searched on there for Pokemon cards and searched for the highest sales. And these ones happened a little bit, you know, a couple weeks ago, but I'm throwing them in here because I just came across them right now. We have the big 3. We have Charizard, Blastoise, and Venusaur here on the screen. Venusaur, 8.5, Blastoise, 9, CGC, 8.5 for the Charizard. God, these cards are so cool. You can see the Venusaur does not have the evolution box error, unfortunately. But yeah, these cards, clearly just an awesome piece of Pokemon history. They are the beta playtest cards, the big 3. Not all sold together, sold separately. But Charizard sold for $42,500. Blastoise was $23,000 and some change, and same with Venusaur. You can see the back of the card there too, just right above me here. So not really error cards. Boy, I will be salivating at the mouth if we ever do see like an evolution box Venusaur, or if we see that Snorlax with that G in the middle of the card. Let's see those sell on eBay, and I would love to talk about them. But just want to share with you things that I see during the week for Pokemon cards. Next up, we have a Shadowless Squirtle that got graded a PSA 9. Now that's not only thing in it, this is the red diamond error. If you look under withdraw attack, there's the word prevent, and there is a red diamond there. And this is actually a repeating error. In my opinion, I think price charting should put this error on their site and be able to track the prices. There's enough information out there to track it, so price charting, once again, add it to the site. But in a grade 9 average non-error price for this sells for $47.54. Grade 9. This one sold for $183 this week. 285% error value increase. Not a crazy high EVI, but this error added around $140 of value to this card. That's pretty neat, and I always love vintage repeating errors. So the Red Diamond Squirtle. Next up, we have another repeating error, but you might not think it's what you think it is. So a lot of people think the Dark Arbok is only known for the 23,000 error, where on the bottom there, it's a repeating error where every single card has it, but it says 23,000 under date. I'm not sure exactly what it's supposed to be, if it's just supposed to be 2,000, but this one's actually a repeating holo shift error. So if you look at the holo foil on the card on the right, it is shifted to the left. Am I moving to the left on the screen? I don't know. It might be reversed. So the holo foil shifted to the left, and yeah, not much more to say about it. It's a very cool repeating error. I love holo shifts. I think they are one of the most unique errors out there, and especially if you have one that's a repeating error, that's pretty cool. This card sold for $100. Average non-error price is $7.13, so we got 1,300% EVI. Obviously not top 10, but very solid, and again, I love holo shifts, especially repeating ones. Ooh, next up we have a Houndoom from Neo Revelation, and this is a double holo variant. And this got graded a PSA 9. That's a high grade for this. And god dang, that was reflected in the price. $1,275. You can tell this is a double holo because it looks like it's just double the holo on the card. I don't know how else to really describe it. I know the white around Houndoom also is missing on the double holo, and probably just a little bit darker from all that holo foil too. When I said EVI is usually around 80 to 200% for double holo variants, that gets thrown out the window when you get to the higher grade. So grade 9s must be harder to come by because I think it's just the scarcity of the number of cards that have this, and so that's why it's worth so much more, because there are just less double holos at a PSA 9. But yes, $1,275 for this vintage Pokemon card. Woo! Next up we have a base set 2 Machop that got graded a CGC 6.5, and CGC calls this a minor miscut. Now I want to know, how many different words or phrases does CGC have for talking about the centering of a Pokemon card? So you obviously don't have anything for perfect centering, then you have off center, then you have minor miscut, major miscut, and then crazy wonky miscut, or skewed miscut I should say. I don't know, but this is a fat bottom Machop that CGC called it a minor miscut, and it sold for $29. Not a crazy sale, you know, or anything. EVI, nothing too special, but you know me, I love my vintage miscuts. Next up we have a Rose Tower from Darkness Ablaze, and this is a severe miscut. Boy, I really do love these miscuts where it's perfectly centered left to right. It's just shifted either up or down quite a bit. And this one would be shifted down. Top part of the card has another card on it. And a good deal of another card, probably 10% I would say. That's pretty cool. The back looks like it's... Oh, see, I think the seller took the photo upside down. And so the Pokeball is upside down, because I don't think this is a upside down Pokeball error. And the miscut is the same if you were to flip it. So I think they got that wrong there. That's not a big deal, but yeah, definitely need to be aware of that. This sold for $25. That's pretty solid. They listed it for around $40. The best accepted offer price was $25. Average non-error price, $1.46. And error value increase is 1,600%. That's solid. Very cool card, and looks like we see one alignment dot on the top right portion of the card. $25 for a modern trainer card is not bad. Look at my boy there. Look at him. Nope. Right there. Next up we have a Ninetails from Fusion Strike, and this is a skewed miscut. Twisted miscut, wonky miscut. I've been told to call it skewed miscut. Apparently that's what the OGs call it, so I will sprinkle that into my vocabulary from here on out. You can see the right side of the card's actually cut a little bit, so it was skewed enough where it actually got cut like that. I don't know what really has to happen for that to be cut like that. You know, I feel like I've seen a lot of different orientations of Pokemon cards where they're severely miscut, but the Pokemon card shape itself is still intact. So I don't know, I'm not a miscut expert, but it's always cool to see each miscut is different and unique in its own way. This got graded a PSA, no, this got graded a CGC 8.5 and sold for $75 this week. Average non-era price is $9, so this had a very solid 733% error value increase. The skewed Ninetails, that's a cool card. Congrats to the seller on this one. Here's another first for me. Here we have a Cyndaquil from Neo Genesis, and this has a couple printer hickeys. So they call it a ink printing error. Printer hickeys, call it what you want. Top left of the art box there, you can see there's a large one that looks like kind of a fortune cookie, and then there's another one under quick attack in the middle of the card, and it's on the word damage. And it also looks like, I don't know if that's an ink error, right kind of just to the left of that smaller printer hickey, there is a little bit darker ink there. So that could be something too. Two large printer hickeys like this is pretty cool, and I gotta say, I love the look of vintage printer hickeys on fire type Pokemon, because you have the red and then it's surrounded by yellow. That is so cool. I know Charmander and Charmeleon have a couple printer hickeys like this that just look so cool, and they're, you know, perfectly they just look cool. And this card was listed for $50, and by golly, it sold for $50. Average non-era price is $1.88, so that gives this error value increase 2,560%, and that's number 10 this week on our list of error value increases. Next up, we have a Stunfisk that got graded a CGC 8.5. This one, again, perfectly centered left to right, and got shifted up, so it has Ratata below it there. Again, love when it shows different portions of the card, and whatever is cut off on the top is re-shown on the bottom from a different card. It's just, again, that scratches an itch that I love as just, I don't know, it's like symmetry, whatever it is. It's yin and yang. Get back to the card, Matt. Okay, so this one sold for $60. That's pretty solid. Boy, price charting kind of has let me down here. You can see ungraded price for this is $1.34. But there is no other information. I really don't know if anyone's ever gotten this Pokemon card graded before, because honestly, I could not find any sales on eBay. I could not find anything, really. I guess I didn't check the major grading sites to see if there's pop reports. That's my bad. I probably should have done that. But I guess $9. This wasn't going to be a crazy... I don't think this would have been in top 10 no matter what. So I think $9 for an 8.5 is maybe about right. Maybe I'm off by a few, but either way, that wouldn't have changed the positioning on the error value increase. Would not have been top 10. But yeah, 567% EVI and a cool Pokemon card. Next up, we have a Snorlax from Jungle Set with the no symbol error. This one got graded a PSA 9. And if you don't know what the no symbol error is, it's a very common repeating error. It's not super common, but it's common enough. One could almost call it a variant because it is seen so often, and the jungle symbol is missing. And so if you are looking for these cards, look for the set number, and if it ends in 64, that means it's jungle, and if you don't see a symbol in the bottom right of the art box there, then it's a no symbol error. One thing price charting does do right is they show no symbol errors. So it's kind of fun. Once you look, if you are an actual nerd for Pokemon cards, look at the different numbers and see how it kind of changes from grade to grade for each of them, because they have ones populating each, which is very interesting. So yeah, EVI is about right for this, 66% for a no symbol error. And this Pokemon card sold for $275 this week. Next up, we have a Psyduck from Team Rocket Set, and this has an additional ink error. And this is, I believe, additional yellow ink. You can see on the bottom portion and a little bit of the top portion of the card, outside of the holo box, there's just yellow kind of splattered all around there. And this card was listed for $19.99 and sold just for that amount, and had a 1,242% error value increase. That's pretty solid. It's a neat card. So this next card is the only card I have this week that was sold on what was previously PWCC but is now Fanatics Collect. And this auction site I don't think gets enough publicity for some of the cards that they sell. They are known for selling some of the really high priced cards, but they have a lot of other cards on there too that I think you can get for a good deal, and that is what happened here. You can see this is one that I did not know about. So this is Alolan Ninetales GX. This is the evolution box error. So you can see above me here that it's basically just the outline of Vulpix there, which is pretty cool, and I assume this is a repeating error because CGC has it listed there. I don't know how much this would usually go for, but for this error in the CGC 9, it went for $17. Average non-error price is $19.77. So this, along with just the fact that I've seen a lot of other cards sell on here for a lot less than they should have. If you are not even a serious error collector, but just a Pokemon card collector in general, I would recommend going and checking out that auction site because you could get some good deals there. But yeah, another error I'd never seen before and just wanted to show you. Alright, next up we have a PSA 9 Shining Magikarp from Neo Revelation, and this is the double holo variant. This one, I think the best way to tell is you can just see a lot more holo on the smaller Magikarps on the card. And again, it just looks like there's more holo on the holo box in general. This one had 34 bids and sold for $625. So this is actually a pretty solid price for a double holo variant, especially selling at auction. I always say this, but I think cards sell for more with the best accepted offer price. But 34 bids, clearly some people were invested in this Pokemon card, and that's why it sold for the price it did. $625. Next up, we have a base set Blastoise with the stage error. This got graded a PSA 7, and the stage error is on the top right of the card. Stage is smudged out, so it just says put Blastoise on the 1 card instead of stage 1 card. Repeating error, and this is one I believe price charting gets wrong. Well, first off, they don't even have a PSA 7 for this. There are PSA 7s that have sold, so I think they need to work on their system so it upgrades more frequently with the sale of Pokemon cards. Sold for about right. Again, we don't know an exact price for this, but stage errors don't usually go for that much higher of a price. I think EVI of around 100% is good, if not even a little better than I've seen before. So $250 sounds about right for the stage error. Ooh, another Blastoise. Look at that. So here we have a first edition Dark Blastoise from Team Rocket set. First of all, just a very, very interesting card. I always love this one. I always had the non-holo Dark Blastoise, and it was not first edition, so I never thought the card was too cool. So seeing it as a holo first edition, that's just, I like seeing that. And this is an additional ink error. So I believe this is additional yellow ink. It does not say. I think CGC should put that on the card, or on the slab, and say what additional ink it is. It's not too hard, and if they can identify its additional ink at all, they could tell what ink it is. I believe it's yellow. From what I'm seeing in this photo, it looks like on the, just to the right of the middle of the card there, there's some ink going down there that is yellow. And this one did not have a crazy EVI at all, 5%. So this was sold in auction, so maybe it could have sold for a little bit more, again, if you list it for best accepted offer price. But 26 bidders, and yeah, this one sold for $430, and this is a very, very cool Pokemon card. Next up, we have a Cryogonal. Did I pronounce that one right? I don't know. Again, I'm bad with modern Pokemon cards. My mistake. My apologies. And this is an obstruction error, so I would say a text obstruction error. You can see that. Even the some of the other information is obstructed as well. So the symbols on the middle there are a little bit lighter. Some are missing some details on the bottom. They're just completely white. So something happened in the printing process when they were printing the final ink for the text, and that got obstructed, which led to this very unique error. Obviously not a repeating error. If you see these, usually it's just like it'll smudge out a little bit of a word, like a half a letter or something. So to see this impact this much of the card, that's very cool, and definitely reflected in the sale price. This was listed for $60 and had a best accepted offer price of $50. I would like to point out too that this card sold for just $1 less than the BGS 10. So you know how hard it is to get a BGS 10. So that's cool that an error card went toe to toe with the highest ranked, the highest graded Pokemon card. But yes, average non-error price is $1.11. So the error value increase is 4,405%. And that's good enough for number 4 this week on our list of EVI. Next up, we have a PSA 9 Gyarados from XY Evolutions, and this is a holo bleed. So all hollow bleeds are really due to an insufficient ink error, and the severity of the hollow bleed has to do with how severe the insufficient ink error is. There are some examples, especially from XY Evolutions, where the whole damn card is just sparkly and, you know, it's shining everywhere, you're shining it in the light, it looks fantastic. This one does not appear to be as severe as other ones. You can still see a little bit there shining through. I do not believe there was a video on this listing. You can't deny the fact that this card sold for a lot of money. Typical grade 9 for a XY Evolutions Gyarados goes for around $15. This one sold for $150 this week. Not to dismiss the card or, you know, anything, but I don't think this error is severe enough to have sold for this much money. Again, happy it did. Very happy for the buyer. Congrats to you. But this is doesn't seem like that severe of an error. I've seen other ones be a lot more severe, sell for similar amount, if not a little bit less. But yes, $150 for this card. Let's go on to the next one. Next up, we have a base set Clefairy with the black ink dot error. Believe it or not, this is a repeating error and is one of the, I wouldn't say the largest, but it's really in your face. Under a Sing there, you can see that it looks like someone drew a Sharpie over now. And as I said, this is a repeating error, but there is no pricing information on price charting for this error, which is fine. I think there's not enough copies of this to kind of have a real grasp on the market price for it. This one sold for $200. I would say the seller definitely doesn't sell too many Pokemon cards. You can see only 2 ratings, but 100% positive, and what a cool card to sell regardless, but especially if you don't really sell too many Pokemon cards. So kudos to the seller. My only piece of advice is I would try to shoot a top-down photo as well. I believe the only 2 photos were the 2 I listed here, the front and the back of the card, and they're kind of at an angle, which is okay, but you always like to show more photos if you can, especially if you expect someone to pay $200, which they did. Average non-error price is around $10, so the EVI is 1,892%. Again, not top 10, but a seriously impressive card and a cool repeating error. Next up, we have a base set Mewtwo with the ink error. What would this be called? This is a repeating ink error. Basically, a look on like around the hips and the tail of Mewtwo on both sides. There is a ink going across the hollow horizontally there. This listing also did not have a top-down photo. I get that you don't really see the hollow, or you don't see the error with a specific angle, but again, I always like top down for both sides of the card. But $100 seems about right for it. I think this is a little bit more of a rare error, and the card seems to be in pretty good shape too. Error value increase is 811%, and let's get on to the next card. Next up, we have a Conkeldurr V. And this is a narrow miscut. I like that name for it. It really does show that it narrowed the card when cutting it. And boy, yeah, that's what would that be? Around 40% of the card is missing, and you got 2 right corners there on the top and bottom. So clearly very severely miscut. The seller did not include a photo of the back of the card, which I think you need to show it no matter what. Especially, it would be cool to see what that looks like too. When selling on eBay, the more information you can get to the buyer, the better. But this seller listed this card for $300, had a best accepted offer price of $200. Typically, this card goes for $5.50 for an 8.5. That gives the error value increase 3,536%. And that's good enough for number 8 this week on our list of EVI. Here we have another Snorlax with the no symbol error, but this one got a CGC 10. And I think some people got emotionally invested when purchasing this card. This sold for $3,056. Had 90 bidders. That is a lot of money. If you look, we have error price and non-error price for every single grade for this no symbol Snorlax. And a non-error CGC 10 goes for around $600. An error CGC 10 goes for $741. Now granted, I think that number is definitely low, but I don't think it should be higher than a PSA 10. PSA 10 for this goes for $2,859. This one sold for $3,056. I think people got emotionally invested in the bidding process, and I don't want to say someone overpaid because this is probably a very low population card, so it can be hard to, assign a price to it. But that is a lot of money for a Pokemon card. Holy crap, $3,000. I don't have much more to say about it. I guess this air value increase is 414%, and yeah, that's a lot of money for a Pokemon card. Ooh, next up we have a PSA 7 Krabby from Fossil Set, and this is a slash error. You know this is a good error when PSA recognizes it. Look at the fossil symbol there in the bottom right of the art box. It looks like there's a fifth appendage, but somehow it's missing ink, and I don't know exactly how it has that look. I think is it into the shadow of the on the right side of the card a little bit is missing, and so it makes it look like that fifth appendage. It's a very minute error, but is very sought after in the error community, and you can definitely see that in the price. PSA 7 went for $225 this week. Average non-error price is around $4 for this in a grade 7 for a fossil Krabby. And that gives the air value increase 5,525%. And that is good enough for number 2 this week on our list of EVI. Also, Price Charting did have information on this, but they had nothing for a grade 7, so we'll see if they update that in the coming weeks. But you can see grade 8 went for $275, so $225 should be around market average. Next up we have a CGC 9 Pikachu with the Ghost Stamp error. This is the first edition, and this error affects the D and the 1 on the first edition stamp, and also just makes the other letters that are still there much lighter. This is a repeating error, and this is an interesting sale. So you can see we have error price here. Again, price charting can be off a little bit for this. There can be a lot of factors that come into play here. But typically it goes for around $750. Now this is grade 9, so that is kind of, I would say, the averages between CGC, SGC, PSA, and BGS. So, it all kind of ranges a little bit, and there can be some variability there. But this one sold for $520. EVI is 112%, so nothing too crazy. But you have to remember, yeah, this is a first edition Pikachu, so already a valuable card. So adding an error to it will add a good amount of value, but the EVI might not be crazy high. Next up, we have a Temple of Sinnoh from Astral Radiance, and this is a skewed miscut. An extremely skewed miscut. Look at that. This, I don't know what happened. If is there like an employee and he was like talking to one of his coworkers, and all of a sudden like the sheet slipped and then it just got cut right there. I don't know how it gets misaligned this bad, but that is so cool. I love how that's how it has to sit in the slab, just with how it was cut too. I don't know. I think the way they know how to align it is due to that rounded corner on the top left of the card. And also it looks like this is a little bit of an edge of sheet miscut too. You can see on the back of the card there's that white line going through there, which shows that, yeah, this is the edge of the sheet, which adds more value to the card as well. So I guess that would explain why this grade 5 card sold for $185 this week. Oh, that's funny that CGC had to grade this, and you can see the cuts aren't perfectly clean, obviously, because something got messed up in the cutting process, but so they have to grade the edges too. That's why I only got a 5. It could have been a rough blade or not a complete perfect cut or something. Something happened, but I just think it's funny that CGC still has to grade it as the same standard as other Pokemon cards. Average non-error price, I had to take a stab at this. I said $5 for a grade 5. I think that's about right. When you start getting into the grades like 7 and below for these modern trainer Pokemon cards, they're really not worth much. Even they might not even be worth the cost of getting it graded. So I think $5 sounds right. And with that, that gives the error value increase 3,600%. And that is good enough for number 7 this week. We had a lot of cards this week. I think there was 38 in total that I talked about. Well, including the crazy expensive ones, we're up to like 40 something. Usually I shoot for around 30 cards, so a lot to talk about, but having a lot of fun this episode. Next up, we have a Lightning Energy from 2017. It just says unnumbered energy cards. Not sure what that means. I know there's no number, but one thing I found interesting, this says Pokemon 2017, but it says 2019 on the bottom of the card there. So is this a double error? CGC made a mistake? I don't know. This is the third example of a card where it's been miscut and it's just been miscut top to bottom, not left to right, which, you know, I like those. I like seeing these cards. And this one sold for $40 this week and had an error value increase of 900%. And here we have the last card. Here we have a Luxio with an additional blue ink error. This is similar to the other one, but this one seems a lot more consistent through the whole card. Like, the roller was very faint, but covered the whole card instead of just little portions of it. And I find this a lot more aesthetically pleasing than the other error. And I think just due to the sheer volume of how much extra ink was added to this, is why this card sold for more than that other additional ink error that was also on the back of a card. You usually will see a crazy miscut or a a very popular, expensive repeating error show up at number 1. But I think the big thing to consider here is the comparison between the sale price and the average non-error price. That's why error value increase is kind of a fair scale. It gives any Pokemon card a chance to be number 1. And so when you have an average non-error price of, it says 52 cents on the non-error price chart there. I said 99 cents. Again, I think it's good to factor in shipping, and so I will always have that be the low part of the equation, so it never goes lower than 99 cents. Either way, if you're comparing $80 to $1, you're going to have a crazy high EVI, and that's how we got to number 1 this week. Error value increase is 7,976%, and obviously number 1 this week on our list of error value increases. Alright, that is the end of the video. I really appreciate you watching. If you made it to the end here, you might be a little bit more of a fan of this series than some other people. Early next week, I will be posting a video that is not related to the ranking of error Pokemon cards, and I'm excited. I'm trying to branch out a little bit here. I think I've kind of got my feet settled here on YouTube. I'm having fun, but I have to be more consistent and put out more content. So I'm excited to post that. I really appreciate you guys watching. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and goodbye.